Okay, so it's recording. So welcome everyone. I'm Greg Stamp with Stamp Seeds, and thanks for joining us. XPT Grain. We've got Christos. How do you say your last name, Christos?
It's Liguriatis.
Liguriartis. I've got to practice. Thanks for joining us. Victor, working with Chris is now. I see he's on the call as well. So thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks, Victor.
So one slide. So I've got, I think, 10 slides, and they're pretty simple. This one, it's about us. A lot of you have seen this already. So I take care of seed sales and marketing for Stamp Seeds. My brother Nathan, who's in the Trilex hoodie in the picture, takes care of our farm management. So he's the farm manager for us. Matthew on the right there, he takes care of our seed treating, inoculating, seed cleaning, and some accounting or some finance type things. And then Cody, who's not a brother, he's one of our management team, and he's our accountant, bookkeeper, deals with inventory and payroll and things like that for us, and invoicing all of our customers. So AAC Delhi, this is a new, so I've got three things to talk about basically. Delhi Jumbo Yellow Pea, and we've got the Dorado Yellow Flax, and then the Marvelous Brown Flax. That's kind of the three things that are suited towards Chris's program tonight, I believe. And so Delhi, we've grown this variety for 3 years now. This is our third season, and we've had it on irrigation all three times. The picture in the top right corner was from 2019 crop. And obviously on the edge of a plot where we've got a 9-foot gap, you'll see more flowering and more pods hanging there. So don't expect that to be the field average look, but that's on the edge. Looks nice though. On the bottom right picture, we've got Chrome on the left and Delhi on the right. The Delhi definitely matured faster than the Chrome in that field where it was side by side. Now that's actually where my flax is now too, Christos. So basically with the flax that I was talking to you about is on that same field actually. So we had a little bit of lodging this year on irrigation. It wasn't flat though. So I've seen flat peas before, and these were not flat. They were a bit more just sunken, but I think it was because we didn't maybe get there as soon as we would have liked to on them. And the field had a little more fertility than we expected. It was a new field to us, and we hadn't farmed it before. So a little bit more fertility than maybe we thought there. And yields, we've had them side by side with Chrome, and they were pretty darn comparable in yield actually, which is excellent. And early season, so over Meadow, I would expect roughly a 6% yield advantage over Meadow, but obviously every situation's a little different. But they're early, that's one key thing, which Chrome is kind of late. So just a few pictures. The picture with the yield maps on there. Now the top pea variety is a forage pea, so that it's not a fair comparison between varieties because forage peas won't yield as much for grain yield as the Delhi would. So that Delhi, that jumbo yellow, you know, it did excellent on the field still, but not quite as much. Or the forage pea was definitely worse. So as far as the look of them, you know, a large roundish seed shape. The splits doesn't seem to be too big of an issue. Obviously, we try and take them at 14% moisture or higher for seed. You know, Chris can talk about what he likes for moisture in his presentation there. And that bottom left picture is harvesting them this season in 2020. So as far as pulses go and inoculants, we've switched it up this year. We used to have to do a polymer coating with our inoculants. Now we can put this AgT Rhizo on seed. It's a peat-based inoculant. It's good on the seed for 20 days at 20 degrees or 30 days at 12 degrees. So when it's warmer, it degrades faster. So at 20 degrees, we've got 20 days on seed, even with seed treatment. So that reduced a little bit of cost for peas, lentils, and we've had a little bit of issues with seeds stacking up in trucks, but more on faba beans. So on peas, we really haven't had too big of an issue. In the drill, not a concern at all. But the stacking in trucks is part of why we switched from going, you know, with a polymer coating to something that didn't need the polymer coating. Cost, risk of stacking in the truck, things like that. But really, that was more of a faba bean problem. So that's new this year. As far as flax, the Dorado yellow flax, That picture on the right there is our 2020 crop. So that's what we have in the bin to sell to you this year. We've color sorted it. We cleaned it twice actually. So it went through our cleaning plant twice because we wanted to make sure it was, as pure as possible. And we didn't have to cut too hard. So we went, half cut and then the final cleaning back through the plant again. So flax is always challenging to clean. We anticipate we slow down to about half speed normally in flax and sometimes even run it through the plant twice. And so it hit the color sorter twice there. And so Dorado, we've grown this variety for like 3 years now. It's my favorite. It's actually my favorite flax variety to grow out of all even the browns. It just seems like its maturity is faster, and whether it finishes flowering faster than everything else and moves on, but it seems like it's earlier than what the seed guides would show you. Short stature, so it's great for irrigation. We've had customers with it on dry land, and it's fine there too. Shatter resistant. Now it's hard to judge that because typically we're not having a brown right beside the yellow flax, but we haven't had shatter issues. And typically we're reg loaning the flax at the end of the season, and then harvest straight cutting it. And, you can get winds that can blow the flax together and shatter those bowls, but I haven't really seen any shatter loss on Dorado in the it's probably been almost 4 or 5 years we've grown the variety since it was breeder seed. Actually, it's been in the marketplace for a couple of seasons now. High oil content, more than the other varieties out there. High ALA oil content, which some end users do like that high ALA oil content, but it's definitely not a bad thing in the variety. And high protein, and seed size is medium. So it's just it's going to be hard to go away from this variety ever, or for a long time, just because it's such a good variety. Now, if you really like CDC Bright, I might have a few tote bags on hand, but we really, compared to the Bright, this Dorado is a really good yielding variety. There's a few pictures on irrigation. The irrigation pivot picture and the combine picture there was from 2018, I believe, a few years old, but you can just see it's not super tall. Actually, all these pictures are from the same field in 2018 on irrigation. So you can see compared to my truck there, my truck's not lifted or anything. It's just a normal 2016 GM. And that's how it looks in the field side by side. So just a beautiful variety. And then as far as brown, Marvelous launched this year. We had a soft launch last year, basically, where some farms were able to grow it and they were able to grow it, but they agreed not to farm save seed for that year because it wasn't officially launched yet. So now is the official full launch, and just, it's like a normal variety, like you can farm save this variety if need be. But we find a lot of our customers do come back and buy flax every year just because they want the purity. The cleaning is a bit of a headache, and the screenings and things like that. So we do have a lot of repeat customers every season with flax. And then they also want it because it's not big volumes per acre. It's not requiring a lot. Typically, if you're new to flax, dry land maybe 50 pounds per acre, maybe 56 if you have tougher soil, or a drill that's maybe tougher for seed placement. Irrigation, we're about 56 pounds per acre up to 65 pounds per acre. We'll often go 65 pounds per acre on flax just because I like that. It speeds maturity up a little bit. And, obviously the higher you go, the more you risk lodging a little bit, but we hit it with 2 herbicide apps. So, say a Buckshire M early and then say a Curtail M near the backside of the herbicide timings, and that stunts the crop a little bit and helps with lodging. So that's how we manage lodging a little bit, even with the higher plant populations. The problem with flax is mortality. No one can tell you exactly what your mortality is going to be in flax. So that's why it's a little bit of a guessing game on what we really should be seeding. And there's not a lot of research on that. As far as Marvelous, it would be, 1 to 5% over everything else in the marketplace. A lot of customers are growing glass, Prairie Sunshine, Prairie Sapphire. I would say this would be a yield advantage equal to a bit better versus all of those. And pretty good oil content, rated at 47.9. So that's higher than a lot of brown varieties actually as well, including glass. So that's valuable if your buyers are concerned about that. And it's rated long season, so comparable to other brown varieties. And then next season, it's not available right now to commercial farmers, but Roland looks really, really good. It looks to be the next step up in yield, maybe a little less in oil content, on normal oil, but higher in ALA oil content. So almost as high as the Dorado, but Dorado was at 64%. So the Roland looks to be very good. And on the next slide, I've kind of got a comparison. Oh, one more slide. I've got a comparison. So this is the Marvelous, how it looks in the field. Where my truck is, that's in the Roland variety. And on the right-hand side, there is the Marvelous. So the Marvelous would be just a hair earlier versus Roland, I would say. And standability was good on both. And yeah, so we had them side by side last year, or in 2020 here this year, last year, I guess. And the picture there is the seed that we just cleaned. We don't have clean specs back on the Roland or on the Marvelous yet, but that's the Marvelous that we just cleaned a week ago. So no final specs yet back on that. Now you can get a look at how they look. These two are grown side by side. Just look at the color difference between these two varieties. You've got your on the right, that Roland, that dark, plump, big seed, and the Marvelous, more of a medium, more of a medium look and color to it. So, obviously that's off the combine samples there that you're looking at, but I was quite shocked at how different they looked actually. It's pretty interesting. Oh, forgot I had sound on there. Sorry about that. So flax treating, I'm near the end here of my slides. We've been putting Ensure Pulse on about 25% of the flax that goes out. We've been using on our flax as well, that we've been planting on our own farm. Now, yield advantage, I'm not going to promise a big yield advantage. I don't think BASF would either. But what we've seen with some customers is they think some yield advantage. We tried to do a trial once and we messed it up. So it was kind of fun and games of trials. The nitrogen wasn't going when we were supposed to be going with the nitrogen, and something messed up. So anyways, it didn't work out. So some have said more even crop, faster to flower, better germination, things like that. And so it's an option, but we kind of require a heads up just so we have enough product on hand. And it does require a little bit more clean down of the treater to afterwards, just because it's slightly stickier on the treater. But it's not like it's sticky or gummy, like it's not going to stick to your truck, and it's not going to gum up and stack up in your drill. So it's been probably 3 or 4 years where we've had treating of flax. So it's been pretty good. So, and that's all I have. So I will switch screens and allow Chris to be the host. And feel free to type your questions in the chat. So Chris, I've made you the host. So, I got to stop sharing. Sorry. Okay, I've stopped sharing. You should be good to share yours. So if everyone can, feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and then I'll ask them at the end of Chris's presentation, or you can unmute yourself at the end and ask live. I'm totally fine with that as well. And we can have a little conversation as well. So,
Thank you,
Chris,
Greg.
I think you're good to go.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. We've got XPT Grain up on the main screen there.
Perfect. Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for taking some time in this beautiful evening in Western Canada. My name is Christos Liguriatis. I'm with XPT Grain, and I have our good friend Victor Koval. He's a procurement specialist. He's in charge for procurement in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, as well as Alberta. So I'd like to take a few minutes and show you some slides and give you a quick introduction about XPT Grain. We're a fairly young company. We've been in business since 2014. Our head office is located in Regina, Saskatchewan. We're a privately owned company, and we export. We're licensed and bonded with the Canadian Grain Commission, and we export to primarily to Asian markets, Japan, Taiwan, and China. And we focus mostly on pulses and oil seeds. And within the pulses, we export yellow peas, specific variety of yellow peas. We have specific programs, green peas, maple peas, specific variety of maple peas, marrow fat peas, and forage peas. And then on the oil seeds, we work with a specific variety, brown flax and yellow flax. And in the last seven years, we laser focus on those two commodities, and we have a very happy producers as well. We have a very happy customers. At the same time, we work on spot pricing on some other commodities like canary seeds, barley, feed barley, and we're open to diversify our portfolio when the right opportunity comes. As I mentioned, we're focused on primarily, we have a strong program with yellow peas. We have a program in place right now that we have production contracts or spot pricing with producers in Western Canada. And the only one of the requirements we have is that the producer has a certified seed, has a seed that's been proven, has good germination, it stands up well and it yields well. And based on that, we expect the producer not to use glyphosate as a desiccant. They can use it as a pre-bird, but not as a desiccant. And then we can work together on a spot contract or production contract. As I mentioned, we're licensed and bonded with Canadian Grain Commission. We're part of numerous organizations in Saskatchewan and Alberta with SAS policies, Alberta policies. We collect and we administrate the levy on behalf of Alberta policies and Saskatchewan. And as well, we're active members with STEP and Chamber of Commerce, as well with the Canadian, with Textile Craft Association. We handle basically the entire disposition, from the working closely with select seed growers like Greg Stamp and Stamp Seeds to identify a good variety that will work well for different regions, for different soils. And we always take Greg's advice to work closely with our producers and do production contracts. And then we have a complete control of the disposition from the farm gate all the way to Asia. We have different ways to bring value to the producer by taking ownership of the grain in a specific location throughout Alberta, in southern Alberta or central Alberta, or we can bring containers right in the producer's yard and source load, live load in the location. So we have a good control of the disposition. We have our teams visiting our producers throughout the summer, understand the progress of the crop, and work very closely with the producer to make sure that we can take ownership of the grain as soon as required, sometimes off the combine if we have to. And then shipping periods, we have September, October, November, and work very close to the producer. If we have to, we can take ownership after Christmas for tax purposes. So as I mentioned, we're licensed and bonded. We participate in different organizations. We're 20% of our book of business is organic. We're dealing with organic yellow peas, exporting organic yellow peas to Asia. I want to emphasize at this point that XPT Grain is specifically working on human consumption commodities. We're not, so far, we haven't traded any feed commodities. So all of our products are for human consumption. We're doing a lot of work within the fractionation space in Asia. And we're dealing with food markets, food stores in China. So quality for us on the yellow peas are we're looking for Canada #2. We're looking for a specific variety with a very strong nutritional profile. So the protein level is very important. The size is very important. The fiber content is very important, as well. The starch content is very important. So at this point, we know that the Delhi is a very strong candidate. And we like to introduce that specific variety to respective clients in Asia. So we're looking for a whole yellow pea, Canada #2, maximum moisture around the 14.5, 15%. And then splits up to 2% is acceptable, no deduction. And then from 2% to 4%, we're doing a 50% discount. Farm dress. This is a farm dress. So here's a picture that we work with some of the facilities in southern Alberta that we're able to bring the containers. We're dealing with 40-foot or 53-foot containers, bring the containers on site and source load, live load in order to expedite the disposition. So there's a lot of value into that, and XPT is certified with CFIA, so it can be on site and take a representative sample and submit the sample for phytosanitary purposes. As I mentioned earlier, we work with organic and conventional yellow peas, variety specific. We strongly believe right now with XPT, in collaboration with SeedNet, we have exclusive rights for this variety to Asia. So we're very excited to introduce this variety to the processing plants in China. And at the same time, we're working with other niche commodities like maple peas, 4010 or Austrian winter peas. And slowly we're getting into the beans and very strong on brown flax and yellow flax. So speaking about flax, we have, again, our flax, it's not big on the oil content, goes more into human consumption. So on the brown flax, our specifications is moisture, of course, Canada #1, or as close as we can get to milling quality. So moisture around 10%, and we prefer duckage to be maximum around 5%. As everybody knows, nobody wins on a duckage. Duckage is fully deductible, but it costs a lot of money for the producer, for us to take it from the farm gate all the way to Vancouver through trucks and through rail, and then from Vancouver all the way to Asia, 5% or higher of duckage, it could be very costly. So there's other options as well that we can clean the flax in different facilities and load pure commodities, basically 99 or 98% pure flax. On the brown flax, we're looking again for production contracts. We work very closely with our producers. We're interested to work minimum 10 bushels per acre. All of our contracts, they have Act of God. And all the thing we're looking for is first option for the remaining at market prices. If we can't match that, then the producer is open to the market. On the yellow flax, this is the second year that we work with Dorado. We had a very, very strong year with Dorado last year. The producers we work with, they were very pleased. They were very happy. The yield on a dry land was, a minimum around 30 bushels an acre, but the quality and the color that came out was just unbelievable. The color was very bright, nice size. We didn't have any broken pieces. We didn't have any other colors, and they stand up really well. So besides the kocha, everything else, it was really good. So it was a very good candidate. Very strong feedback from our buyers in China. They really like the quality, and again this year we work again with our producers to maintain our existing contracts and have more yellow flax in going forward. That's all I have for now, Greg.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks so much, Chris. What percentage is yellow dominant, or is brown dominant in your program for flax, or?
Definitely brown is dominant in our business, in our book of business. The yellow flax it's way smaller, but still significant that we can work with a dozen producers, big producers. But sounds brown good. is the most wanted. So from the producer perspective, when they look at the brown, they have more options, more opportunities to making sure that there's market for them to sell brown flax. If bushels per acre on a production contract, the remaining bushels, there's a lot of interest on brown flax. The yellow flax is a niche Then the yellow flax is smaller commodity, but again, I recommend if anyone wants to go into the yellow flax, have at least 10 bushels per acre secure, so they can at least secure their input cost, and then they can hedge the remaining 10 or 15 or 25 bushels remaining.
On irrigation, are you going higher than that, like 20, or is 10?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. On irrigation, we can double that. That's for sure. I think on a dry land this year, we're going around 15 bushels per acre, and then on irrigation, we can definitely double that. Yes, that would be no problem.
With an active God is still doable.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do both on irrigation and dry land. We put an act of God with the first option for the remaining at market price. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. One question is, when are you wanting to have flax shipped? So is that is that all pretty quick after harvest, or does that stretch over the full year, Chris? Or
that's very good question. So first comes first served. So what we have a book of containers or a book with the facilities we work with, and we start our contracts basically. Usually the flax comes out middle and end of September, depends the weather, I would say.
Yeah, end of September is a start. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, September. So we're looking basically September, October, November is majority of the business, and then we have it's changing a little bit from December 15 to February 1st, because we have our Christmas, and then there's a spring festival in Asia, which basically everything shuts down for 2 weeks. And we don't like to show up there with a bunch of containers and sitting at the port while nobody's working. So majority of our shipments is September, October, November, up to December 15. So we have this is the first group of shipments, and then we start again from middle of January, end of January. So it takes 22 to 25 days to show up in China. So we start end of January, and then February, March. Two sets of shipping periods.
Yeah, I should say too, like even last year we had some peas left over that were unsold. I mean, last year wasn't a huge pea year, so we did some containers ourselves with XPT on some inventory that we didn't sell for seed that we wanted to clear out some bin space. So went pretty smooth. We loaded the containers in the yard. Although you don't have to if you don't have access to a scale, they can connect with facilities in your area as well, I should say. So, but yeah, that was successful on some peas we did with XPT last summer. So
that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I've seen some.
That was a long day.
It was a long day.
The truck showed up at my place.
If you have the right equipment, you can push out, and you schedule your tracking. Schedule your tracking every 45 minutes to an hour, and from the producer perspective, if they have a conveyor possible, or maybe an auger, it depends what you're loading. That's all you need. You need your tandem, you need your conveyor, and everything else has been supplied by XPT Grain. Everything that requires to load the container has been supplied by XPT. So the trucks, the bulkheads, the seals, the bars, everything's being supplied. So we show up on site, and we can have one truck every 45 minutes. And then ideally we do approximately 10 containers a day, which is 270 metric tons, which equal to 3 rail cars, 270 metric tons per day.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth when we did that, and I hadn't done it before like that, so it worked out pretty good. But if you're not able to load on your own yard, you don't have access to a scale or something, you can take it to a facility nearby as well.
Absolutely. And we partner up with some very well-known facilities, third parties facilities in southern Alberta, that the producer has the option. And again, it depends where the farm is located. Where is the land that we're working with, right? Is it closer to Lethbridge? Is it closer to Foremost? Is it closer to Enchant? Is it closer to Fort Macleod, to Strathmore, to Milo? All depends where exactly they're located. So the producer if it doesn't have a scale, there's always another option, or we can track it from the farm gate all the way to the facility we're working with.
tied to that question on flax shipping, how soon, so in general, how soon would farmers be paid after the product leaves their farm?
That's a very good question. On our production contracts, the payment terms is 20 business days. When we're taking ownership of the grain, XPT is issuing a grain receipt. We're licensed and boarding with Canadian Grain Commission. So the same day of the scale ticket, we receive a grain receipt. So based on that, after we take ownership of the grain, we submit the samples to SGS for grading. So when we get the results back, usually it takes 3-4 business days after the day of the disposition. We receive the results back. When we have all the documents, every Thursday is payment to the producer. Every Thursday we do payments to the producer. If we have all the documents, we're trying to basically I would say 2 weeks, have the payment out to the producer.
And do you guys do electronic funds transfer, so it's quick and easy, or checks, or both, or what's your preference there?
We have no choice. We're dealing with our ERP software only accepts at this point EFT payments. So we like to have a void check, and we do electronic transfers every Thursday. So Friday morning, the latest by Monday, depends if it's a credit union, the money is in the producer's account. 95% we payments on Thursday, Friday, the money is in the account.
Yeah, that's nice.
We follow up with a settlement, with the grain receipts, the scale tickets, grading results, everything comes into email. If the producer wish, we can send them by hard copy as well.
Yeah, that's really nice, because you don't have to worry about taking a check to the bank and fooling around and the slowness and hanging on. They hang on to it for a while.
No, we can't. Actually, CGC really prefers EFT because it's very well documented. It's timestamped when the money left the account, and and at the end of the day, that's what CDC is looking, right? It's looking when the money left your account. I can tell you stories. I can send you a check tomorrow or day after, yeah. But when you click send, it timestamps and you know exactly when the money left the account. So it's very important for the producer to know that so far, XPT, we never had any issues with payments with the producer. We never had any claims with Canadian Grain Commission, and we're trying to be on time every time.
Yeah, well, and in the mail, that's kind of a pain because the mail's been slow lately. We've had definitely some slowdowns in the mail and stuff not getting where it was supposed to over the past couple months. So it's been a challenge through the mail that way for sure. One comment: is there a container from Ken? Is there a container shortage happening now? We kind of, maybe he missed the start of it there, but yes. Do you want to elaborate again there, or?
Yes, indeed. There's a big shortage right now. I was just telling Greg early that we received an email yesterday that there's an increase, a GRI, general rate increase on containers from $100 USD to $400 USD per container right now. And there's a big demand from Asia to get the containers back empty because they have so many shipments. They want to ship their products out to Europe or North America. So they don't want to leave the containers in Canada. So they say the extra 35 or 40 days that they stay inland, we want them back to Asia. So there's a big shortage right now, and we had bookings and shipments coming up next week and the week after, basically for the full month of February. So we find ourselves right now, we have to roll the bookings because all the ships, they don't have enough containers to ship out to Asia. So that's a big problem. And if you look at the last 5 years, we never had a problem with containers. We had problems with rail when the oils were very strong, when we had a very good yields. We had delays with CN and CP. But this year is exactly the opposite. The rail is moving very well so far. There is still problem in Vancouver when they transload them to containers, not enough containers, but also domestically, there's not enough containers from like 40-foot containers available for shipments. So that puts a lot of pressure in the market.
Yeah, no kidding. I should mention too that there is some produce farmer groups like, say, Pulse Canada that started up a grain rail transport coalition, basically. So it tracks container movements, container issues, daily rail movements of trains in general. So that's helpful because it tells you what's happening in that transportation industry that currently wasn't happening. So some of your farmer checkoff dollars are going to fund rail transport market assessments weekly to sound the alarm when something haywire is happening, so that the government can do something quickly if need be.
Yes.
So just so farmers know that is happening with some farmer money, which is to benefit the farmers in the end.
And that's the key, right? We have to make sure that if the producer doesn't make money, if the producer doesn't move the product, nobody wins.
Yeah.
So we have to use every tool in the toolbox to put pressure on a transportation system to make sure the products are going to Montreal east or they're going west. There's a good question over here, I think from Jeff. What are the desired seed traits for export brown flax? That's a very good question, Jeff. I think you understand the market. There's different factories. They have different demands. It depends if it goes for human consumption, which basically targets different foods. They're putting as a topping on a salad, or they're putting as a blend with other commodities to make different foods. We're not into the oil market, so when like the Black Sea region, the Kazakhstans, the Ukraines, and Russia, they have a large seed, high oil content, but the quality and the color it's not quite what we're looking for. So the North American color, what we have here is working very well for human consumption. So there's two different uses. The darker brown, it's workable, and the lighter color, smaller size, is workable. Two different markets, two different factors we're working with. So both are acceptable.
So I had that picture of the darker, plumper looking seed versus the Marvelous at kind of your maybe a normal looking seed. Is one of those maybe more preferred for a look, or you'd have to kind of see them in person a little bit more, or compare them to other varieties?
Greg, so far we had a good run with on the yellow side with the Dorado. On the brown flax, in the last few years, we had a good success with glass, and it seems like the Marvelous could be a good candidate as we're moving forward.
I was just gonna bring that back up as
we're talking back, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you can see that there. Eh? It's definitely a different look. I'm going to bring my chat back up here.
Yes, you can see the difference. Yeah.
But yeah, so for now though, potentially the Marvelous could be fine for what you're looking for.
Yes, the Marvelous definitely will be fine. Again, when it comes to when the Roland comes out, I think Greg is the one who can give you the best answer. Look at your region, look at your land and what's required, and which one can work better for your situation. We have markets, two different factories for both.
Yeah, well, and I'm going to get samples. I'm going to get samples to Chris and see what he thinks of them, and so we know going to the following season how the Roland will compare. One comment, and Victor answered part of it there. Does XPT Grain only do peas and flax? Maybe they logged in later, but yeah, just maybe what crops are you guys dealing with, Chris?
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for the question. We work with yellow peas, different varieties of yellow peas. We work with green peas and maple peas, different varieties of maple peas, forage peas, 4010s and Austrian winter peas, some marrow fats. That's when it comes to peas. So you're right, we're dealing with just with peas. And then with flax, we deal with brown flax and yellow flax.
You had mentioned barley earlier. Is that more of a food grade barley type of thing, or?
We have requests for a lot of different commodities, but as you know, in the last 7 years, we're laser focused in those two, mostly peas and flax, and it serves us very well. We're trying to work with the producer closely with the seed grower and focus on a good results, good yields, shape, size, and make sure that we meet the specifications. And we have a little bit higher specifications than some other companies, but that's why I'm trying to bring premium back to the producer. So we laser focus on those two areas, peas and flax. And then occasionally we have a lot of requests for other commodities. One of them is the barley, feed barley, primarily feed barley, because it was a big issue with some disease with pigs in Asia. So they had, right now they need to restart the production again. So they request a lot of barley and flax meal. So we're trying to stay laser focused on those two commodities so far, and then occasionally we can support some of the factories in Asia with primarily feed barley, and then yes, yeah, we just leave it with the feed barley for now.
And another comment, any prices yet on 2021 Flax programs? Now, I don't know if I mean, it's a public meeting. You don't have anyone could be logged in. So you can always get in touch with them if you don't want to publicly say them necessarily. So,
everybody knows that this year the flax is very strong. I recommend that, if that fits your rotation, to take a closer look. Flax has a very good price right now. The brown flax, you're looking at 1550 plus. The plus comes to the location, if we can load on site, where we can load, and the logistic cost. That's how we can bring more premium back to the producer. So and as we speak, we've seen some very strong demand for brown flax. As you know, the old crop, the prices are at around the $20, $21 per bushel, and then the new crop, it's not far away from that. And same for brown and for yellow. If you're interested to identify more about what's the best price, please connect with myself or Victor or Greg, and we can share more information.
I just put his phone number and email in the chat. So send him a message, text or email there, and you can connect you guys. But I mean, the new crop price looks pretty attractive to me. If you're growing flax, you probably should be signing up some new crop contracts, I think. Mm-hmm. Another comment, is there any checkoff taken on these? And yeah, you stated you submit levy to Alberta Pulse, Saskatchewan Pulse growers. So there would be some SR and shred tax credits potentially back, but just like any other P you're selling, Ken, it'd be a levy to the respective Pulse organizations.
We can't get away from the levy. This is important for research. I think the producer has a lot of options, a lot of opportunities to tap into that research and development support that Sask Pulses or Alberta Flax or Saskatchewan Pulses or Sask Flax are working with. So every month we're obligated to submit the levy for Saskatchewan and Alberta on a monthly basis. Yeah.
And I mean, I am a director on Alberta Pulse Growers and with Pulse Canada as well. And man, the amount of government basically lobbying on farmers' behalf that happens, and planning and research into diseases and some breeding, background support. It's quite impressive where your money does go as farmers together. So I'm definitely a supporter of it, but I am closely involved with it as well. So
yes, and then the remaining, if anybody is interested on deductions, please ask me any questions when it comes to deductions. On flax, DACage is full deducted, and then basically we looked at the flax is the DACage deducted, and then it's the FM. What is the percentage of FM? We have a small tolerance of 0.5% of FM. Other than that, it's just the DACage. That's the only thing is being deducted.
Is the foreign material, how is that different from dockage? Like is foreign material like say a canola seed or what's that considered?
Exactly, good question. And in FM, you have to look at the guideline from CDC for Canada #1, but it could be other color in there. It could be some black seeds. It could be some other. It could be an intercrop product mixed in there. So that gets separated, which is not. It could be usable, but it's not packaged.
So that'd be pretty similar to most companies, I would say, who are buying flax, I think,
Oh
or is
yes,
that
absolutely.
okay? Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking about flax intercrop, last year we had one of the producers who intercrop his yellow flax with grass, and grass was his primary commodity crop, but the flax ended up outperforming the grass, and he was very happy. Intercrop, his yield was around 32 bushels per acre, and he was really, really happy. So again, there's some questions here for straw handling that I think Greg can answer that. But even with intercropping, we've seen some very good results on the yellow flax.
Yeah. So, and that was underseeding Timothy as an underseeded crop there. So that worked out pretty good. So one question was, how many pounds of N am I applying on flax? So I'll treat the brown and yellow pretty similar. Typically it's about 270 pounds of 4600. But the way we've been applying it's pretty diverse. Like this past year, I think we had one field that we seeded flax quite early, like, late April. So we had maybe touch and go with a little bit of frost in early May there. We survived. But we broadcast our nitrogen on when that crop was about 5 centimeters tall on that, but it was on pulse stubble. So we felt there was some there anyhow. And another field, we spread it and worked it in ahead of seeding. And then another field, we did mid-row banders because we used a different drill for that field. So we had all kinds of nitrogen application types there, but we do kind of figure that, maybe our soil release is about, so soil test levels, you'd be in that, 30 pounds available to the crop from the soil. Pulse stubble, you'd get a little bit of a bump from that. Often we're on pulse stubble or close to it in rotation. So, but yeah, often it's 270 pounds of 4600 we're spreading or putting in mid-row bands for our flax crop. And as far as straw, so on dry land, I think you can probably get away with chopping. Irrigation, well, unless you have a big crop on dry land. But irrigation, what we're typically doing is dropping that straw, and either some years we can sell it and they come and bale it and we still get some money for the straw. Other years we'll give the straw away, they come bale it and take it off, and we don't have any cost of baling or moving it off. I know some farmers that will burn it. We've chopped it in the past and then worked it in, but you have to be careful because that flax straw just doesn't break down for a long time. So, and then some people will use a stripper header. So the stripper headers can be nice because that flax straw can then ret in that sunlight over winter, basically, in the weather. And they'll use a disc drill. We've done that before. We've used a stripper header. We rented one from a neighbor, and then we used a disc drill to plant right into that. Actually, with fall rye that fall, it worked out really nice actually. But we just haven't gone and spent more money on more headers, so we don't own a stripper header. So it's typically straight cutting it. And did I miss any other questions in here? Okay, I think I caught all the questions. Is there anyone that wants to unmute and ask a question on anything, or? One question I have on flax is is Canada going to grow too many acres of flax, or is the canola and barley and all that, we're not going to rob too, and Durham price is reasonable. We're not going to rob, be up that crazy, and maybe the Black Sea region, it won't matter because we're not massive anymore compared to some regions in acres, or what do you think? Are we at risk of overproducing or not so much?
I think looking at the stats and reading different reports from the field, I think we're expecting to see an increase of 22% of flax acres this year.
Well, and historically, that wouldn't put us over our historical numbers because Canada grows a lot less flax than we used to. Manitoba used to be a big grower, and now they're not.
Yes, and again, the demand, where the demand is came from right now, why the flax is so strong right now. There's a big demand from the European Union. That's where the majority of the flax is being going right now. I highly recommend if any of the producers is looking to go into flax, secure at least 10 bushels an acre, just so you can mitigate some of the input costs. You can mitigate that risk, and then you can hedge the remaining at market price going forward. But we expect to see already in China, we've seen some softness right now. There's quite a bit inventory at the port, and then over the next 2 weeks with the spring festival, we'll expect some little more pressure on prices. So that potentially could come back. So we're going to be stabilized. The price of things stabilized right now, and maybe a little bit softer going forward in the next 30 days. But for new crop, the demand it's fairly strong.
On peas, I feel like in some regions the peas could be up a little bit, but central Alberta definitely down because of the wet year they had, and they got beat up there. I mean, pea prices are pretty strong. I don't know where. I think I have a feeling it's going to stay relatively strong into next year, because I don't know if pea acres are going to be as massive as everyone thinks, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you think, Chris?
We had, you're absolutely right, Greg. In central northern Alberta, this year we had quite a few issues with too much moisture, and we've seen a lot of earth tag, a lot of quality, very tough peas. So compared to southern Alberta, yes, it was very different. But I expect this year to see a lot of canola. We're going to see waves of yellow out there, and definitely a lot of barley. From the conversations I have with producers on a daily basis, there's going to be quite a few changes. Having said that, with the prices of yellow peas right now and the yields that they offer, they're very good. It's a very good candidate if it fits your rotation. Delhi is a very strong candidate, and flax at minimum 1550 per bushel plus. That gives some competition to canola, and the input cost is way less than canola.
Yeah, that's true. With the run up in nitrogen prices, things are climbing there. Peas, if you haven't secured nitrogen, the peas look a little bit more reasonable than they were even compared to other crops. So, one question: if the flax is a lower grade, do you still want first rights to buy, or if the grade doesn't match what you need, you say, okay, we don't want anything, or how does that work?
Yeah, we still have an option, and we'll look at the quality, and we have a very good conversation with yourself, and we have another market for it still goes, it goes into a lower grade, a different facility, different processing plant, that can still trying to bring value at the farm gate. So if that doesn't work, then we release the producer, and you open to sell the flax at the local market.
Yeah, and from what I've seen with XPT, it's a long-term relationship that they're looking for, because even with me in the seed business, it's obviously the goal is to have long-term customers, and in 20 years hopefully someone's replaced me and is talking to you like this, or hopefully we're in person in 20 years, maybe not. But the goal I think of our business is long-term. I think with XPT, it's the same thing. They want to work with the same people year after year because you get comfortable with them. So that means they want to treat you fairly. And that's been my feeling, and I think a lot of our customers' experience. So I think Chris would agree with that.
Absolutely. And
a long-term game here.
Everything starts with a phone call. Everything starts with a conversation. Honesty, integrity is very important. Everything we want to see, we put it in the contract. So when we do a production contract or a purchasing contract, there's no hiding agendas. There's no hiding little paragraphs. Everything is very clear. We communicate our expectations, our specifications with the producer. So we want the producer to meet the specifications, so you can get hit the targets. And same thing for us, the same product. We want to make sure we hit the specifications with the factories in Asia, because at the end of the day, the producer, your headache stops when you sell your grain. Where in our position, my headache starts when we take ownership of the grain. Logistically, take it to Calgary, take it to Edmonton, take it to Vancouver, from Vancouver to Asia. and work with different regulatory bodies. So we want to make sure that the producer understands exactly what we're looking for and help him have a good, pick a good seed, good certified seed, and have good yields and have everything well documented. Traceability is very important. So we're looking for understand, how many acres the producer is seeding, where is the lab location, and then try to help him bring value throughout the season.
I had a question. What's the price of flaxseed? Really, really high. It's been a long time since we've sold flaxseed in the 30s, but I think basically we've moved up essentially a similar amount to what the market has moved up. But send me a text and whatever if you haven't got anything booked, and I'll let you know, because obviously volume is part of it and things like that. But send me a text on that, and we can get you connected on some flaxseed. But really, our price essentially is somewhat tied to the marketplace, and we've moved up about a similar amount to what the marketplace is, but probably not even quite as much compared to last year's price on certified flax seeds. So how does the Canadian dollar impact you, but not necessarily tied to the US dollar, tied to, say, some of the countries you're shipping it into? Like, is that a challenge for where the Canadian dollar is sitting or not? Or
the foreign exchange is changed pretty much every week. We take position on a weekly basis, and that has a big effect until, I would say, right now we're trading around 1.27, which it makes it a little bit more difficult for us to compete. Give an example, last year, the same time, our FX rate was 1.37, 1.38, and right now it's at 1.27. That's a big spread. That's a big spread. So
compared to the US dollar you're talking?
Against the US dollar, yes. Against the US dollar, yes. We're trading with international trade is US dollar. So the Canadian right now, it's been fairly strong. It's been fairly strong, and that put a lot of pressure. So this is very unusual here. Besides the COVID, we have very strong prices, and we have a very strong Canadian dollar.
Yeah.
How long this is going to last?
Yeah, well, and farmers in my region had very good crops as well. Southern Alberta had record crops, so it's quite an amazing year actually for Southern Alberta farmers.
Absolutely, and that's good to see. That's good to see.
One thing I forgot to mention, I made a note of, was on the deli on say like green seed or locking in greens and things like that. We've seen it with a few varieties in the past, not currently ones I'm growing, but say Inca, Lacombe. Some farmers complained that there was more green seeds being locked in, even if they weren't desiccating, or even if they weren't hitting it too early with a reg loan. And I haven't seen that, just so you farmers know, I haven't seen that with the deli or the chrome. It seems like look at the picture in my hand there. It seems to look more like that than anything else. Now, if we try and get aggressive on desiccation timing, so to preserve seed quality, which is, my goal is, purity and high germinations and things like that, and clean seed lots, we might want to try and hit it earlier than the average farmer for reg loan timing, which can put a few greens in there. But, as a farmer, you don't want that, because Chris, is there a challenge with green seed locking in what you're buying, or is that a challenge, or you don't want too much of that?
Definitely we don't want too much of that. We've seen that last year, especially central and northern Alberta. We've seen a lot of off color. We lost great because other color. And at the end of the day, color is an opinion. We want to make sure that you minimize that risk. But we took a lot of our yellow peas from the producer we had in contracts with a little bit higher amount of greens. At the end of the day, what's important for us, is it green only on the outside, or is it green inside too? If it's yellow inside, we can work with it. But if it's green inside, that's makes it more difficult, because it has to get through color sorter.
Okay.
After we take ownership of the game, so that costs us more, right?
Okay.
And when you come to desiccation, you mentioned about reg loan. The only thing we're asking the producer is if they have to desiccate, don't use Roundup. Don't use glyphosate. We're open to heat. We're open to reg loan. Just we can't use glyphosate, and that's what the market dictates. We're trying to work with the market, not go against the market.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of that as time goes forward across some of these crops. And one other question I had was, oh, now where was it? Oh, minimum protein. Is there a minimum protein cutoff you worry about, or it not so much, or you haven't had that issue on peas or?
We that's a very good question. We keep a very close eye on the protein levels, and we're looking at different varieties, and that's why we have we choose Delhi. Delhi is a strong candidate. He's the average protein level I believe right now is sitting at 24.7, 24.46. So that's a higher candidate, higher percentage. We haven't rejected any of our shipments because of lower protein. The average we've seen so far this year is around 22% on protein. But having said that, we're doing a lot of research and development behind the scenes to identify candidates like Delhi that can work very close with the producers and have a higher percentage of protein. So ideally, sitting around the 22, 23% plus, it's very good. It's very good. The problem begins when you're down below 20%.
Okay, that's rare. I don't think I've ever seen that on my farm, below that percentage when we've sent in samples places, or the Grain Commission. And yeah, Delhi I think was 0.9 or even more above checks. I'd have to look that up, but it was like one of the highest protein peas actually in the marketplace. So that's an advantage to it as well.
Yes, and it's a large pea. It's a large size pea, right? So at the end of the day, you're selling weight.
And that's where a lot of our yield comes from, right? I mean, if you can, I mean, obviously the amount of seeds per pod, but seed size, it is bigger than some varieties for planting, but it is, that's where a lot of your yield comes from as well. One comment from Will: what's the highest moisture you will accept for yellow peas? Is there a cutoff you have, or?
As you know, Will, Canada number 2, it's at 16%. That's what CDC regulates at Canada number 2. So for me to take it from southern Alberta all the way to China, if it's at 16%, I'm taking a lot of risk, because by the time I get to China, I probably gain half percent or 3/4% of moisture. So what we have in our contracts, we have it at 14.5. That gives me some room from 14.5 to 16% to work with you. So maximum we can accept is 16% as per CDC.
I find in southern Alberta, it's pretty hard to actually keep it at 14.5% moisture. Usually we're battling with 12% or
12 and 13%, and we never had a problem.
It seems like we're fighting to keep all our peas at the high enough moisture, it seems like. But yeah, I mean, if your combines are sitting there at the field, then yeah, you'll be chomping to get in for sure. So yeah.
Greg, I understand you have clients in Manitoba, you have clients that we work with in Saskatchewan. So different regions have different requirements, right? Different results. So we've seen it all. So that's a very good question, because moisture can create a lot of problems if they're tough, or if they're too dry, they can increase your split. So you're sitting at 9 and 10 and 11%, and you start using an auger instead of a conveyor, then you increase your splits.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. We definitely do have customers in Saskatchewan and further. And so, yeah, definitely different harvest conditions in some regions of the prairies for sure. Container shortage. So if that continues, if we struggle next winter, is there a set time frame for XPT to take delivery, or what happens there if there's a disaster?
That's a very good question. We have a set time period. We start September, October, November. It can be August 15 to November 15 for yellow peas. Southern Alberta, it harvests a couple of weeks early than Saskatchewan. So we have set period for 90 days. That's the first one. And then the second one is after Christmas. So from middle of January, February, March, April. And if there's issue with containers, plan A, if we load containers in your yard and we don't have containers, we can switch into intermodals, which the intermodals are domestic equipments owned by CP and CN, and then we transload them in Vancouver. After the shipping period, XPT has to pay penalty for storage. So if we keep it for an extra 3 days or 30 days, in our contract we have a penalty that we pay you on a daily basis per metric ton that we haven't taken ownership of the grain. That's a very good question, because it affects everyone. And at the end of the day, we're dealing with the same logistics. We're dealing with the CP, we're dealing with CN, we're dealing with the steamship lines in Vancouver. So we're trying our best to take ownership of the grain right away. Historically, we never had any issues with delays. We actually pushed to take inventory a little bit faster than later, because we have a position. In order to do a contract with the producer, that means we have a contract with a sales contract with the facility in Asia. So we work back to back. So we have a specific metric tons every month that we have to ship to Vancouver. So starting August 15, and then September, X amount of thousands of metric tons, October, November, December. So based on that, we pre-booked space with different steamship lines, and we drive it backward all the way to Calgary, and then we have trucking companies drive it backward all the way to the farm gate or to the loading facility that we work very closely in southern Alberta. We have third-party relationships with some of the facilities, and they provide excellent service. I think some of you here, at least I see the names, we already have existing contracts for old crop, and we have contracts for new crop, and I thank you for the business.
Yeah, I forgot kind of about the intermodal being different than, say, a container, and yeah, I kind of forgot about that, actually. They look the same. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to tour a facility actually in Raymont Logistics, actually out in Montreal. And it's just amazing what they do to transfer product in and out of, from rail cars to containers to it's just phenomenal what some of those transloading facilities can do, actually. So it's very cool. Yeah. So if there's a shortage of containers, will you reduce the amount of contracts you will sign, or will you just use more intermodals to get stuff there faster?
We use rail or use intermodals.
So you could use bulk rail even to get
absolutely. 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 We have multiple facilities around, in Saskatchewan and Alberta, that we load rail. So we always have a plan A and plan B. We can't be delayed on the shipment, because I have position with the producer. At the same time, I have position with the factory in China. So I need to make sure that I have a plan B in place to move the product on time.
That sounds good. Couple comments. Can you touch briefly on interest or plans in dry beans going forward? Another one talked about chickpeas, things like that. Where do you see them going? Are you guys dealing with chickpeas day to day?
I want to bring our senior procurement manager here, Victor Covo, and pass on the microphone to him, because he's doing a lot of work behind the scenes on dry beans and on chickpeas. So Victor, if you want to say a couple of words about the market on chickpeas. We haven't done a lot of work on chickpeas, a lot of requests, but we haven't touched that market yet. Victor, please go ahead.
Thanks. Well, I have to be honest with you guys. Today price track Vancouver is cheaper than if I go buy directly from the growers. How come? It's impossible to believe, but it's this. Well, the thing is, right now, maple peas or chickpeas in this case, they're going like very high. They pretend to be at 28, even 34. I didn't ask for 34, right? So I can find easily in Vancouver, track Vancouver, chickpeas for $635 US, right? So it becomes, I did my numbers this morning, around 28. 28 already in Vancouver, track. So it's no way that we can promote procurement by directly from the growers at this time, at these expected prices, right? That's how I see it. There is not a huge demand overseas right now. Argentina doesn't have a lot. So I believe we have a good quality. They're mostly looking for number 8, right? And I see the price it could be there, but I don't believe it will be before May, to be honest.
So as XPT, will you guys be doing something with chickpeas, dry beans going forward, or?
We are working right now in Manitoba with the dry beans, even in Saskatchewan, River Horse area, and some in Alberta as well. basically that's a kind of my new emphasis, right? And yeah, chickpeas, and we're gonna be looking into green peas as well for Latin American market. That's what we hope. Africa also looks good. All depends on prices because we got the quality, of course.
Victor, maybe you want to put your contact information in the chat if you can, so they can get a hold of you if they have specific questions on some of those crops,
Right.
specifically to you as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Victor.
Problem.
Any people on the call have anything they want to, if they want to unmute and ask a question or anything else they want to talk about or mention? I think we're near the end here in general. Oh yeah, so Victor's got his information in the chat. So if you want to talk to him about those crops, the bean chickpea thing, go for it. Yeah, if there's no other questions from the farmers, yeah, Chris, any last words to wrap it up here?
I want to thank all the producers who participate. I want to thank you, especially Greg, for doing such a great work and bring so much value into our space. I'm looking forward every single day to your updates, your tweets, your messages, and helping the farmers that I put you through on a three-way call, unscheduled, just right on the spot, to give them some advice, agronomic advice. And we're looking forward to have some production contracts for yellow peas and for flax, and work very closely with Greg and Stump Seeds. I want to thank everybody and for participating in the meeting tonight.
Thank you for coming, Victor and Chris. Much appreciated. And if any of you farmers have some questions, get a hold of one of us on the call here, and yeah, we'll go from there. So thanks so much for joining, everyone. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.